Hi, if you are an immigrant, this message is for everybody, but I'm just going to say that if you are an immigrant, you must thank African American. It's not, the message is not only for immigrant, but it's just for educational purposes and for everybody to learn, but precisely for immigrant as well. Okay, so if you came to the United States, whether it's 20 years ago, 60 years ago, if your parents, your great grandparent came in the United States 100 years ago, you probably may have never been told something very, very important. Okay, that you are in the United States because African American paid a price that nobody else paid. That price, it was not your country, not your country paid that price, not your ancestors, not your community, not your religion, not your language. Okay, it was African American who paid that price in blood, in pain, humiliation, in death, and centuries of resistance, so that America became open to the very immigrant who benefit from it today. Okay, I'm not trying. This is not flattery. Okay, it's not. This is not politics. It's not. I would say it's not being nice, but it's a fact. It's historical fact. Okay, it is a fact, and it's something that has to be that really has to be said. Okay, because before African American fought America, it was not an immigrant friendly country. America was absolutely not an immigrant friendly country. Many immigrants today that think that the United States was always a land of opportunity. No, absolutely not. Okay, America was built on three things, three principles: slavery for African people, genocide of Native American Native people, and open door for Europeans only. Okay, immigrants from Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, Latin America, and the Middle East, they were not welcome. They were considered to be undesirable, inferior, uncivilized, and not assimilable. Okay, the laws can prove that. You have the 1790 Naturalization Act, for instance, where it will say that only free white persons could become citizens. Asians, they were banned. African, they were excluded. Muslim, Indians, and Chinese, they were legally rejected into becoming citizens. Entire groups were blocked from entering in the United States. Black people, even free ones, they could not even vote or hold office. Okay, this was normal America at that time. Immigration was a white only project. Immigration was a white only project. Until African American decided to change the entire system. Okay, African American, they were the first to force America to expand its definition of human. Okay, to recognize the humanity in people, because long before any immigrant complained about discrimination, African American were already fighting brutally. That the world could hardly imagine. The world doesn't have any idea of what African American have been through. They were whipped, beaten up for learning to read. They were lynched for looking at a white person wrongly. They were jailed for trying to vote. They were murdered for demanding dignity. They were segregated into poverty. They were treated legally as 3/5 of a human being. Despite all of that, and through all of that, they did something very, very special and extraordinary. They forced America to face its own hypocrisy. African American forced America to recognize that their own hypocrisy. They forced the country, they forced the United States to confront the gap between the Constitution and the reality. There was a gap in there. African American, they were the first civil rights soldiers in America. The very first one. Every right that every immigrant today enjoys today sits on the shoulders of the black struggle. and all the suffering they have been through. Without the civil rights movement, for instance, America would not have opened the doors for immigrants. Okay, this is the truth that most immigrants never learn. They don't learn it. They don't. It's not in the public. Nobody talks about that like that. Okay, the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, for instance, that law that allow African, Asians, Arabs, Caribbeans, and Latin American to immigrate exists only because of the civil rights movement led by African American. The United States government did not pass that law because it loved because it loved immigrants. Absolutely not. It passed that law because black people, African American protests, African American sacrifice, okay, and black moral pressure. The pressure of black moral made the United States to be embarrassed on the world stage. That's what happened. America could not justify fighting Soviet communists, claiming to be leader of the free world, preaching democracy internationally, while at the same time beating black people on TV, lynching black people, attacking them and beating them and having them humiliated. The government, the United States government was concerned because the world at that time was watching. Okay, African American forced the United States to remove racial immigration bans. So there is something we need to ask ourselves here. And for all immigrants, would you be in America if African American and had not marched, if they didn't suffer, if they didn't bleed, if they didn't die? And the answer is simple, very, very simple. Well, no. Okay, immigrant inherit rights they did not fight for, but someone else did. Okay, when immigrant arrives in America, they instantly receive the right to live anywhere they want. Okay, the right to attend any school they want, the right to vote after naturalization for sure, the right to work freely, to do any job they want, the right to pursue opportunity, happiness, or whatever. They benefit from the protection from discrimination. They have access to courts, to lawyers, and they have also due process. Okay, immigrants work into rights. They come in this country, they have right. They work into protections. They work into freedoms. But none of those rights, none of those freedoms came easily. Okay, they were purchased. Okay, by African American with broken bones. Okay, we burned homes, we lost lives, we lost children, with endless trauma, with resistance that lasted centuries. Okay, yes, if you are an immigrant, you inherit the benefit. African American paid the cost. The immigrant mistake is that you come over here and enjoy the benefit without acknowledging and recognizing the sacrifice. Many immigrants they make the same mistake. They come, they succeed, they settle, and then they never pause to ask that question: whose struggle made this possible? Whose struggle made this possible? Instead, too many, say things like, black people don't work hard. Those African American, they should just do better. Okay, my community made it. People from my community, they drive nice car. Why can't they? African American are lazy. We came from nothing, but we came over here, we succeed. That is ignorance. You gotta read a book. You gotta go look it up. Immigrant entered a door already open. They enter a society already transformed and accepting people from different creeds. They enter a legal structure already rewritten. Okay, African American fought for things immigrants simply walk into today. They died for those things. You think if you're an immigrant, you think that you came to an already developed, advanced, organized America? No, absolutely not. But The America you see today was built on destruction of black oppression, okay, and the victory of black resistance. You know, the destruction of black oppression and the victories of black resistance. You know, the real truth is that immigrant benefit from a struggle that wasn't theirs. Okay, if you are an immigrant, you enjoy jobs, you enjoy neighborhoods, you enjoy schools, rights, security, citizenship, legal protection, freedom of speech, freedom from racial discrimination, racial immigration bans, and all of that. Not because America was generous, but because African American demanded equality, so that they demanded that so hardly and powerfully that the system had to change. The system had to change for everybody. You know, every immigrant who enters the United States is standing on the road already paved by African American strength and courage. That needs to be recognized. That needs to be praised. Okay. To be grateful is not to worship. You know, it is just to recognize the truth. You got to be to recognize the truth and to be grateful. You know, when you say that as an immigrant, I thank African American, you are not worshiping them. You're not worshiping nobody. You're just simply acknowledging the truth and recognizing an historical fact. Okay, your opportunity, if you are an immigrant, your opportunity came from the sacrifice of African American. Every immigrant, every son of an immigrant, if your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather is an immigrant, you should say, this is at least once in your lifetime, publicly or privately, I don't care. You should say that my presence in America was made possible by the battles African American fought. I'm here in America because they made this country confront its racism. I benefit from the right they earned, and I owe them respect of understanding history, honestly, of understanding historical fact. This is not politics. It is just historical justice. This is gratitude done with all the dignity. Okay. To end this, I'm gonna say this. If there is one message that must stay, you know, in everybody's head, you know, is that, in the message must say in the head of immigrant, you did not come to America alone, you know. You walked through a door that was held open by African American. Without the courage of African American, without their resistance, without the sacrifice, the America you live in today, if you are an immigrant, the America that you live in today would absolutely not exist for you. Okay, so you should show them a little bit of respect. You know, stand with them, stand with African American, and never forget the truth. You know, if you are an immigrant, you must thank African American, because simply without them you would not be here. You know, and this is something that a lot of immigrants don't understand. When they come in the U.S., they just come in and they find everything's fine. It's a country of freedom, but there's a lot of gratitude that African Americans deserve for all that they have done to push this country to become what it is. Yeah, to become a country of immigrants. Yeah. Thank you.